Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing an updated prediction for the month of May between Democratic Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and Republican Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance. So for this matchup, I'm taking Vance versus Newsom, who, when you look at the race to White House average right now, J.D. Vance is the clear favorite among Republicans to be the 2028 Republican nominee at this time. Obviously things can change over the next few years or so, but right now it's pretty clear it will be Vance. And then we can look at the Democratic side of things, where right now in the 2028 Democratic presidential primary, Gavin Newsom is currently polling around 5th place at around 7%. So if the election were held today, actually Newsom would not be favored to be the Democratic nominee. That would currently be Kamala Harris. But Gavin Newsom's been widely speculated for a while now that he's going to be running for president in 2028. So we thought it'd be fun to do an updated prediction. As always, of course, we're in May of 2025. Lots of things are going to change between now and 2028. But I think this video is still fun, so let's go over this topic. Well, I think there's some states that we know for sure are going to be safe for Gavin Newsom and safe for J.D. Vance, so I want to get this out of the way now. Washington, Oregon, California, Newsom's home state, and Hawaii, I expect to all be safe for Gavin Newsom, as well as Washington, D.C., Maryland, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Delaware, Connecticut, Vermont, Maine's 1st Congressional District. And then this is where things get interesting between Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom. The state of New York saw a big shift from 2020 to 2024. It swung about 10.5% towards Donald Trump. In the state, ended up voting for Kamala Harris by about 12.6%. The question will be, though, is can J.D. Vance do as well as Donald Trump did in 2024? Don't forget, it was a very good point, actually, a lot of people in my comment section made below, that 2024 was after 4 years of Joe Biden being an unpopular president come election day. This time around, it'll be Donald Trump after 4 years of him being president. So that should be reversed, where actually the Republicans would be more likely to be unpopular than the Democrats at that time. So I think Newsom will get some gains back on the Democratic side, including in the state of New York, getting it over 15%, as well as the state of Illinois getting that over 15% as well. New Jersey swung so much, though, that I think it's not going to be safe Democrat in 2028, even in this election scenario. We can also look now at some other safe states for J.D. Vance, where I think the state of Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, the state at large, and I believe it's the 1st Congressional District, will be safe. I want to make sure I got that right based off the 1st Congressional District shifted. It was Trump 13 in 2024. So actually I meant to put the 3rd Congressional District. I'm going to leave the 1st Congressional District blank for now. Kansas, Oklahoma will be safe, as well as Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and South Carolina. These are currently all the states I have J.D. Vance for sure winning by more than 15%. There are a handful of states that I think are right around the edge between being safe Republican and safe Democratic states, and I'm going to go through these now. The state of Colorado and its 10 electoral votes was just shy for Kamala Harris. It went by 11 points for her in 2024. We did see a shift from 2020 to 2024 of about 2.5% in Colorado. Going back to 2016, though, it did shift to Harris by about 6.1%. So overall, since 2016, it's shifting to the Democratic side, no doubt, but it still did shift to the Democrats, but I think Harris would win it, or Newsom would win it by a likely Democratic margin, similar to Harris. The state of New Jersey I would also put in the likely Democratic column for now. This state, it shifted by about 8.2% from 2016 to 2024. From 2020 to 2024, it shifted about 10%. Without a doubt, it's going to be more competitive in 2028. Only voted for Harris by 5.9%. However, early polling has already showed President Trump is starting to lose a little bit of approval in New Jersey, down 7 points in the Probe Morning Consult map. So I do think by 2028, a little bit of New Jersey's Democratic identity may come back and give Newsom probably about a 10-point win or so in the state of New Jersey against J.D. Vance. The state of Maine, I think, is kind of in a similar situation. Again, this is another state. A lot of states trended towards Trump in 2024. It shifted about 2 points towards Trump. Since 2016, though, Maine shifted about 4.1% towards the Democrats, towards Kamala Harris. So Maine, I think, will shift back a little bit to the Democratic side. It was a 9-point win, or it was a 7-point win for Harris in 2024. I have it being about a 9-point win for Newsom versus Vance. This puts Newsom up to 193. The next state I have in the likely Democratic category is the state of Virginia. A large reason for this, I think, is all the efforts of the Trump administration with DOGE and the government job cuts, which I think the Republicans are certainly going to love in the state of Virginia, but a lot of Democrats and independents in the state who do work in jobs similar to those or have family members who do work in those jobs, I think may be hurting them a little bit more than others, and that'll cause Virginia to go in the likely Democratic column. We did see Virginia shift about 4 points from 2020 to 2024 in Trump's direction, but it did shift overall from 2016 only down about half a percentage point towards Trump. But I think we might see it stay about the same or maybe shift a little bit to the Democratic side in 2028. This puts Newsom up to 206. Vance still has not gone through his likely Democratic states yet. The next state I have is the state of New Mexico, and it's 5 electoral votes. New Mexico shifted to Trump by about 5 points in 2020 to 2024. 2016 and 2024, it shifted about 2.2%. So Trump is certainly making up ground in the state of New Mexico. It voted for Kamala Harris by about 6 points. I think it's possible we do see Newsom get some support back, but Trump's approval rating on that Real Clear Politics, or on that Morning Consult map, is Trump +3 at this time. So it is possible Trump may be making significant inroads in New Mexico where it could get more competitive in 2028, but for now I think Newsom still wins it by about 7 to 7.5% or so. I do have now one state that was a lean Democratic state in 2024, but I think goes back to being a likely Democratic state in 2028, and that is the state of Minnesota. Minnesota, we did see a shift from 2020 to 2024 of 2.9%. Going from 2016, though, to 2024, it shifted to Harris by 2.7%. And I think seeing Biden win it by 7 points in 2020, Newsom would probably win it in this scenario by approximately 5.5% or so. Harris won it by 4.2% in 2024. I think Newsom will improve on the margins in Minnesota. One last state, again, kind of on the edge between being a likely and lean state. This is going to be the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4 electoral votes. New Hampshire is interesting because it actually did shift from 2020 to 2024 by about 4.5%, 4.6%. Looking at 2016 to 2024, however, it did shift to Harris by 2.4%. And on that map that I showed you as well, that's the governor's map. On the presidential map, Trump's approval rating is currently down 10 points in New Hampshire, and I think that would hurt J.D. Vance a lot in that situation, which causes New Hampshire to go by over 5 points for Gavin Newsom versus J.D. Vance. I don't know if it's going to be a lot over 5 points. It might be like 6.5 to 7% or so, but I do think Newsom would win it by more than 5%. That puts Newsom, with all the safe and likely states, up to 225. J.D. Vance now has a lot of states that are also going to be likely states for him, starting with the 1st congressional district in the state of Nebraska and the 2nd congressional district in the state of Maine. These two districts both voted, they shifted actually a little bit from 2020 to 2024. The 1st district shifted towards Kamala Harris, believe it or not, by 1.9%, the only district in the whole country to do so. Since 2016, it shifted 7.7% towards Harris, but when you look at the actual results, it voted for Trump by 13 points. Maine 2nd district voted for Trump by 9 points. It shifted towards Donald Trump by approximately 1.6 from 2020 to 2024, 1.3 from 16 to 20. But I still think Vance will win those in the likely Republican column. Now we have some states that are very close to being safe but are going to stay in the likely column, starting with the state of Florida and the state of Texas. Florida, in its 30 electoral votes, has trended a lot towards the Republican directions. It shifted 9.7% towards Trump from 2020 to 2024. Since 2016, it's moved about 12 points, certainly going in the Republican direction. Texas moved about 5 points towards Trump since 2016. From 2020, it's moved about 8 points. Again, we're going to see these states that are very close to being safe, being right around safe or likely again in 2028, but I do think they just finished just a hair under 15%. The state of Alaska and its 3 electoral votes, I think also would be a likely Republican state for J.D. Vance. This state in 2020-2024 shifted towards Trump by about 3 points. Since 2016, it's actually shifted towards Harris and the Democrats by 1.6, though Trump was still able to win it in 2024 by a likely Republican margin of 13%. This puts Newsom at 225, Vance up to 196. The last 2 remaining states that I have going as likely Republican at this time are the states of Iowa and its 6 electoral votes and Ohio with its 17 electoral votes. These 2 states, these are some of the most Republican states that shifted in the last few election cycles. Since 2020, Iowa shifted another 5 points. Ohio shifted 3.2%. Since 2016, they shifted 3.8 for Trump in Iowa, 3.1 for Trump in Ohio. Going back to 2012, Iowa shifted 19 points. Ohio's shifted 14.2. Trump won both these states by 11% in Ohio and 13.2% in Iowa in 2024. I think Vance will win them probably by similar margins. If the tariffs hurt him in those states, maybe the numbers might go down a little bit, but I think Vance should hold on there. And now this is where I think the election really starts to get close in these remaining battleground states and in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, which you could argue could be put into the likely Democratic category as well. And actually, in fact, I might be doing that, but I wanted to discuss it more. These 94 battleground electoral votes, I think, is where the election will be decided in 2028. Starting now with the 2nd congressional district, it shifted towards Trump from 2020 to 2024 by about 2 points, but in 2016 included, it shifted toward Harris by about 7 points. Going back to 2012, it shifted about 12 points. So this district's clearly moving towards the Democratic direction. It voted for Harris by 4.7% versus Donald Trump. And this is one area I think Gavin Newsom can improve on Harris's margins and shift that district towards likely Democratic. Now we have some battleground states. I'm going to start this time with the state of Arizona and its 11 electoral votes. Since 2016, Arizona shifted towards Trump by about 2%. Since 2020, it shifted to Trump by about 6%, though. Trump ended up winning the state by about 5.5%. I think in 2028, the election environment will be a little bit more friendly to the Democrats. Trump won nationally by about 1.5%. In 2024, I don't think J.D. Vance can be able to win by 1.5% nationally in 2028. After 4 years of a Trump administration, I think at best it'd probably be like Vance by half a percentage point or something. I think Vance would win the state of Iowa or Arizona by under 5% in the lean Republican column. The state of Nevada and the 6 electoral votes is very interesting. The state has shifted 5.5% from Harris to Trump, or from the Democrats to Republicans from 2020 to 2024. From 2016 to 2024, it shifted 5.5%. This is one state where I think the trends that were made by Trump from 2020 to 2024, 3.1% went for Trump, do stay with J.D. Vance, and I think the state of Nevada will once again be won by Vance. The only thing that may change this is if the tax on tips policy does not go into effect. Then I think I could see people in Nevada being a little upset about that, and the numbers may shift a little bit towards Newsom's favor. But I think Vance holds on to Nevada at this time. The state of Georgia, Georgia's really fast. Things have shifted 2.4% towards Donald Trump from 2020 to 2024. From 2016 to 2024, it shifted to Kamala Harris by 2.9%. So it's definitely moving in the Democrats' direction. Trump won the state by 2.2 in 2024, and a lot of shifts as well in the area surrounding Fulton, Georgia, and Atlanta, and that as well. Georgia's going to be an absolute toss-up. It's going to come down to the wire in 2028. You could really go either way with giving it to Newsom or to Vance. I'm going to narrowly give it to J.D. Vance by under 1% of the vote, but I think it's going to get really, really close in the state of Georgia. Now we have the state of North Carolina. North Carolina from 2016 to 2024 shifted to the Democrats by about half a percentage point. From 2020 to 2024, shifted to Trump by 1.9. It voted for Donald Trump by about 3.2%. The state has been remarkably consistent at being very, very close, but voting very narrowly for the Republicans. I think it continues in 2028 with Vance winning it by a lean Republican margin. This puts Vance at 268, Newsom's at 226. This is one scenario where I think Vance, being the Republican nominee, he won't be able to do as well as Trump in the Rust Belt, but I don't think Gavin Newsom's the best Democrat to try and get voters back in the Rust Belt either. And I think a lot of Rust Belt voters, seeing as the fact that he's the governor of California, aren't going to like that and may actually throw their support behind J.D. Vance, not as much as they did for Trump in 2024, but potentially enough to win this election. In the state of Pennsylvania, it shifted from 2020 to 2024 by 2.9% for Trump. From 2016 to 2024, it shifted about 1 point for Trump, and then from 2012, it shifted about 7 points for Trump. Trump won the state in 2024 by 1.7%, and this one, I think J.D. Vance very narrowly wins the state of Pennsylvania by under 1% of the vote, securing 270 electoral votes and getting a win in the 2028 presidential election. We do still have 2 states left, though, Michigan and Wisconsin. The state of Michigan shifted by 1.2% from 2016 to 2024 for Donald Trump. From 2020, it shifted by 4.2%. We saw it go for Trump in 2024 by 1.4%. I think Michigan's also going to be very, very close in 2028, but I do think J.D. Vance would also hold on and win this state by under 1%. Lastly, we have the state of Wisconsin, where Wisconsin shifted about 1.5% between 2020 and 2024, the smallest shift in the 4-year cycle of the 3 Rust Belt states. It also shifted from 2016 to 2024, the smallest of the 3 Rust Belt states, by just 0.094% of the vote. I think of all the three Rust Belt states, the one that has the most potential to vote Democrat in 2028 may honestly be Wisconsin, and I think the Supreme Court race in Wisconsin may have been proof of that. I would give Gavin Newsom the state of Wisconsin, getting up to 236 electoral votes, Vance at 302. I have JD Vance winning against Gavin Newsom. I think, again, in large part, I think there are a lot of Democrats that could win the Rust Belt states in 2028, especially given how President Trump's approval rating would be after 4 years. But I don't think Gavin Newsom is the right Democrat to try and win voters back in the Rust Belt. I think this election will be very close. Several states will be decided by under 1% of the vote, but I think JD Vance would narrowly win against Gavin Newsom. But leave a comment below to tell me your thoughts on this election. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit like and hit subscribe. Stay tuned as I post at least 2 new videos every single day that you're not going to want to miss. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.